There's hardly a week that goes by where I don't hear someone complaining about the high price of Burgundy wines and telling me that they don't even bother with Burgundy because they think that it's just all too expensive. To be sure, some of the top Burgundy producers definitely have wines that are priced in the stratosphere. But there's also some extremely well-made Burgundy wines that offer lots of enjoyment and which offer compelling value at their price points. You just need to know where to look. So in this video, I'm going to reveal 8 of my favorite Burgundy values. These are wines that sell for between $25 and $70 in the United States, and undoubtedly you can get them for a substantial discount to that price in Europe. Well, I've tasted a number of outstanding wines for the first time this year. This first best value wine is probably my favorite wine discovery of the year. I first tasted this wine a few weeks ago when I was at the wine club with some friends. Someone gave us a blind taste of a wine that we knew immediately was a high-quality red Burgundy. A short time later, we found out it was selling for only $50 per bottle. Within seconds, we immediately divided up equally all inventory of this wine that they had. This wine is an absolute screaming value. It's a wine that's a village wine, but it stands a good chance of being upgraded to Premier Cru in the very near future. If that happens, you can rest assured that both the existing inventory as well as future vintages will sell for much more than this wine sells for currently. This is the Domaine Regis Bouvier, Marsannay, Les Longeroies, Vignes Rouge. Of course, Marsannay is an excellent place for value generally, particularly if you can be selective and find some of the best producers. Marsannay first received AOC status back in 1987, but currently they do not have any Premier Cru sites. Significantly, however, there's 2 vineyard sites that are up for Premier Cru status, including Les Longeroies. As the name for this wine suggests, the fruit for this wine comes from old vines that average an impressive 50 years of age. Les Longeroies is a sloping vineyard with ideal sun exposure. This wine matures for 12 months in 20% new French oak, and it is unfined and unfiltered. This wine was extremely vibrant and expressive, with aromas that burst from the glass. Flavors and aromas included black cherry, pomegranate, tea, and mixed spice. There was impressive acidity and a long lingering finish. A stunningly complex wine for this price point. There are not very many opportunities at all to get a screaming buy in Burgundy these days. It's very rare to be able to pay village-level prices to get a Premier Cru quality wine. But that's absolutely the situation with this first wine, so you'll definitely want to back up the truck on this one. The next best value Burgundy is a wine that comes from a producer whose goal is to make wines that are precise, powerful, and concentrated, yet also have ample acidity and freshness. This is a producer that embraces organic principles, and I've found that the entire lineup in general offers relatively high quality for the price. One of my favorite Premier Crus from Michel is a Chablis that comes from a single vineyard that, when translated to English, means Mount of Thunder. This vineyard is located in a prestigious location right next to the valley of the Grand Crus. This is a mineral-driven wine with flavors and aromas of lemon, green apple, and pear. There's abundant acidity, impressive concentration, and there's also an intriguing texture to this wine. This wine is incredibly well balanced. I do, however, think that it will benefit from a couple more years of additional bottle age. So if you'd like to try this wine in the near term, I'd make sure that you buy a few bottles so that you could try one early and let the rest of them have a little bit more bottle aging before you enjoy them. But this is definitely a wine that has extremely high potential and offers compelling quality at this price point. In addition to considering this wine for your home cellar, you may also want to keep an eye out for it on restaurant wine lists. Recently, I was delighted to find this wine at a local restaurant. Better still, in addition to being a fairly reasonably priced wine anyway, the markup at the restaurant was a very gentle 2 times, which is almost unheard of for Dallas, Texas. The 2023 vintage is the current release, but this is a wine that you can buy with confidence pretty much year in and year out. And if you're able to track down some of the 2021 or 2022 vintages, definitely consider buying those as well. This is wine that I've seen selling for anywhere from $49 to $59 per bottle in the United States, so definitely shop around a bit to get the best deal. While I'm talking about Chablis, I would be remiss if I did not mention the excellent entry-level Chablis from Jean-Marc Brocard, namely the Sainte Chablis. This wine is another consistent performer, and better still, it sells for only around $25 per bottle. This wine consistently receives scores in the 90 to 92 point range from most of the critics who review it, and always over-delivers at this price point. Better still, this is a wine that you can enjoy immediately, and it makes an excellent cellar defender while you're waiting for your Premier Cru bottlings from Domaine Michel to mature. Next up is a Premier Cru Red Burgundy, namely the 2022 Domaine Jean-Baptiste Boudier Pernand-Vergelesses Les Fichots. For around $70 per bottle, this is an extremely impressive Premier Cru that's made in an age-worthy style. This wine comes from organically farmed vines that were planted way back in the 1950s. This fruit comes from a small 1-hectare parcel that's located in a prestigious area just downslope from La Charlemagne. This vineyard has clay and limestone soils that are ideally suited to the production of high-quality Pinot Noir, and there's east-facing exposure. They use native yeast for fermentation, and they mature this wine in 15% new French oak for between 14 and 20 months, depending on the vintage. This wine features impressive purity of fruit and concentration. There's flavors and aromas of cherry, strawberry, plum, earth, mixed spice, and hints of sauvage character. This wine has ample acidity and a long, impressive finish. To the extent there's a negative associated with this wine, it's just the fact that it's made in an age-worthy style, so it will need to have some additional bottle aging before it shows its best. I'd recommend that you wait at least 4 or 5 years to dig in. While many people just write off Burgundy because they think that it's too expensive, there's actually still some excellent values to be had. One example comes from the Marsannay. This is wine that comes from incredibly old vines, some of which date back to 1917. This vineyard is a small walled vineyard that's less than 3 hectares in size. Better still, this producer is co-owned by renowned winemaker Dominique Lafon, so you know that the winemaking is on point as well. This is the 2022 Chateau de Quarts, Puilly-Fuisse, Clos de Quarts. This is a medium-bodied white Burgundy that has flavors and aromas of lemon, lime, anise, crushed rock, and blossom. There's a racy acidity that I really appreciate. This is one that should be in its early drinking window in another year or so, and you can enjoy it over the next 5 to 8 years thereafter. This next wine is a wine that I've been buying for my own collection for several years now, and it offers extraordinary value. This is a wine that comes from a 5th-generation winemaker who started his own estate back in 2012. To produce his first wine, he purchased a small 2-hectare plot in a prestigious vineyard called Les Michelins. This is a vineyard that was planted way back in 1903. Immediately after acquiring this prestigious parcel, Yohan Lardy immediately converted it to organic practices, shunning herbicides in favor of a plow and relying on natural biodiversity instead of chemical insecticides. The Yohan Lardy Moulin-a-Vent Vieilles Vignes de 1903 sells for as little as €23 if you're able to buy it direct from the producer on its website. In the United States, you'll pay around $35 per bottle. This is a well-balanced wine with impressive purity of fruit. While it's a Gamay, it's a powerful, structured Gamay that benefits from some additional time in the bottle. I found that it shows its best between 5 and 10 years after the vintage, and it will certainly age for 15 with no problem whatsoever. I like to buy it in quantity so I can let some age for an extended period of time before I try them. This is a mineral-driven wine with black fruit and lots of spice. It's got a long, complex finish. This wine matures in Burgundy barrels for around 10 months, and they ferment with natural yeast, and there's no sulfites added. Next up is a Premier Cru Red Burgundy that offers compelling value at around $55 per bottle. Domaine Michel Juillot is a producer that has around 31 hectares of vines spread across Burgundy, 21 of which are planted to Pinot Noir. This wine is a full-bodied Burgundy that comes in at around 14% alcohol by volume. It has extremely impressive purity of fruit and elegance. It is made in an old-school style, however, so it's one that will not show its best in the near term. So it's definitely best suited to those of you who have some patience and are willing to give it some additional bottle age. You can expect flavors and aromas of dark cherry, plum, smoke, mixed earth, and spice. This is the 2022 Domaine Michel Juillot Mercurey Premier Cru Clos de Roi. I found this high-quality wine selling for as little as €15 in the EU directly from the producer's website. While this wine sells for around $25 or so in the United States, it represents extreme value even at that price point. I featured another wine from this producer just a couple weeks ago that is produced from vines that were planted way back in 1903. That wine sells for around $35 to $40 per bottle. This wine is made from slightly younger vines that were planted in 1911 and in the 1950s. These old vines are farmed organically and are part of a 2-hectare plot that's located on the upper slopes in Moulin-a-Vent. Talented fifth-generation winemaker Yohan Lardy acquired a 2-hectare plot in Les Michelins back in 2012 when he started his own winery. Since that time, Yohan Lardy has been making some incredibly high-quality wines that sell for extraordinarily reasonable prices. So this first top wine for $25 a bottle is the 2023 Domaine Yohan Lardy Les Michelins Moulin-a-Vent Cru Beaujolais. This wine received an impressive 97-point score from James Suckling's reviewer, Stuart Piggott. While the Domaine Yohan Lardy wine that was made from the 1903 vines requires at least 5 to 10 years of age before it shows its best, this is a wine that you can enjoy immediately or over the next 5 years. If you try this wine, you'll be rewarded with flavors and aromas that include mixed red, blue, and black fruit. This wine is intensely concentrated, yet very well balanced. It has silky texture and a long, pleasing finish. This is an absolutely stunning value and one I cannot recommend highly enough. I strongly encourage you to support talented young winemakers and small wineries like Domaine Yohan Lardy and give this wine a try. If you'd like to splurge a little bit on some higher-end Burgundy with all the money that you save from buying the wines in this video, or if you're just curious about legendary Burgundy producer DRC, be sure to check out this video that's linked above.